Hey, I'm Doug, this is Eric. We are D&E in the garage, and today we're going to show you how you've been doing your brakes wrong. Hit it, Eric.
Alright guys, I got my 2010 Subaru Outback. It needs all 4 brakes. Right now we're just going to do the fronts. Alright guys, so when I was a mechanic, this is the way I was taught to do brakes. It's how you make them last 20 to 30,000 miles. And you don't need a lot to do it, I'm not going to lie. So what I got here is my impact gun to get the wheels and the bolts out, a file to clean the rust out of the channels for the brake pads. This is going to clean all the brake dust. It's a wire brush, a little small one. This is my caliper compressor. You can use a C-clamp also, but I prefer those. Brake clean to clean the rotor, and synthetic brake caliper grease that you can get at your Napa AutoZone or Advanced. And this is the godsend. This is what you really need to make the brakes last a long time. Alright guys, I jacked the car up from the frame, be right behind my motor. There's a jack stand making sure it doesn't fall, and I have a chuck in the back wheel. You want to be safe when you're working on stuff. Now, I'm going to do this side a little slower than I normally do them, probably actually a lot slower, just to show it to you and how to do it properly. Doug's going to time me on the other side to show you how fast you actually can do it once you get some time in doing them. Okay guys, if you can jack it up on both sides, like I did, you're able to spin the wheel if the key's in and unlock position. It's going to help you a lot to make it a lot faster. Okay guys, on a Subaru right now, it's going to be a 14 and 17. For the caliper bolts are 14s, caliper bracket is 17s. I have a ratcheting wrench. You can use anything to get these off ratchet, but usually the ratcheting wrench is pretty quick for me. My fingers. I'll place the caliper aside so you can get to the pads and everything. Okay guys, I'm just going to take out the 17s that are holding the caliper bracket in. Yeah. Okay guys, take those 2 bolts out and the caliper bracket comes right off. And just to get the rotor off, you just give it 2 little taps. There we go. Double whack with a good hammer. Hey guys, I'm just going to go over what you got here. So this is your caliper bracket. And these are your brake pads that sit in these channels. So when the caliper compresses, it squeezes down on these 2 onto the rotor right here, which then stops the car by friction. Now, what you do when you do a brake job, you want to maintenance all the parts on it. So you pop these little pins out. Usually the rubber just slides off. You see there's rust in there. You can kind of see it. You're going to lube all that up. See, there's still some good lube on it. You want to clean this out with a wire brush and re-lube them all. Now with these, there's a trick. You don't put lube on that half and you don't put it in there. You put it on this second part of the shaft, and you'll still be able to get this in. Once you put the grease on here, it gets very hard to push it back into the caliper bracket. When you put the grease on this tip, this actually swells up because grease gets behind the rubber gasket and doesn't really come out. It just has a thin layer of lube behind it. So what you really want to do is just put it on the first half, and you'll be able to get it back in. And now with the brake pads, just tap them out. Okay, now you're just left with the caliper bracket with no caliper pins. So what you're going to do is what I've learned to do is just clean out all the dust off the slides. Now that they're clean, I pull them off. The reason why I clean them first is because they've been on there for about 20 or 30,000 miles. It's a lot easier to clean them while they're rusted, seized on there. Now I'm going to clean out these little C channels so that the rust buildup from sitting in water and driving and everything like that gets cleaned out, and there's a lot of movement for the pad to move freely. It helps take out the extra wear you put on one side of the pad. Take the wire brush, just get it a little polished a little bit, knock off any of the big stuff, and you're good to go. You want to put back your clip, make sure it's centered. Because I've had them where you're not centered to the clip, and it'll hit the rotor and make horrendous noise, and you have to take it all apart again. Now it is easier if you do this on your workbench with a vise. I'm doing it out here because I don't have a vise. I know Doug does, but just kind of showing you proof of concept. Okay guys, now I got it all cleaned up. See, the caliper clips are all clean. I got all the slides out. I'm going to re-grease them. I use this CRC synthetic braking grease lube. Honestly, it's the best stuff I've used so far. Stays a long time, and usually what happens, it turns into like a light powder that still lubricates after about 10 to 15,000 miles. And I tell you, I never had a problem with any of my brakes when I do it this way. Now you're just going to apply it liberally to all the parts of the C-clip. Now, some new brake pads come with new clips. You can use them. I'm a big proponent of using the old factory clip. Unless there's holes worn in it or it doesn't seat right, you never really want to go far from factory. See, like right now, I was about to put my grease on it, but you can see there's a gap between here and here. It's not seated right, so I'm going to push it down and make sure it's tight fitting. Now, when you put the pad on, it's going to push it down for you, but makes your life a little easier that you don't have to futz with the pad. Now guys, I got some rust on here, so I'm just going to clean it off, wipe it down with the rag. Take my wire brush, just clean off the top here so you don't leaving rust to build up. Put some grease on it, make sure it's nice and fully coated. Even put some up there so that it slows down the rust a little bit. Put it right back in its hole. And you see, this is what you want by the time you're into your product. You want the rubber to seat fully top to the top of the caliper pin, and you want to have that movement. A lot of the times while you end up wearing one of your pads, you end up having a seized up caliper pin or seized up in the bracket itself. And that's why we take the time to file and wire brush everything out. So we're going to do the other one now. Someone actually have kept this one since factory with a lot of grease. And if you look at it, looks like it's brand new except for the tip where there wasn't any grease. So like I said before, on these type where there's the rubber plug on the end of it, you're going to just want to take it and put the grease here. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So it slides right in and no problems, and it still moves and it still gets lubed. Okay guys, now you remember when we started this, the brake caliper was over here. But I don't know if I didn't tell you, but you saw me move it up over to the top of the strut and back on the shield. You don't want to dangle it by the line because you'll start stretching it, maybe cracking it. That could be a potential brake problem down the road. So I'm going to show you how to decompress it. Now with my handy dandy tool that you can go buy at Advance, it's really easy. Put it in and just pull the trigger. And you'll see they start slowly moving back. Now you don't want to really push them too quick because you can blow something through the top, get possible air in the lines, but just take your time. Now they're fully pressed in. I release my clamp and you can see the cylinders have moved all the way back into their housing, and I can get the new pads on. One thing you gotta do when you pull your new rotor out of the box, you're gonna take your brake clean that you get from Advance, it could be anything, and just lift it up, shoot one side, shoot the other. Now when you get your rotor, there's a protective film on these so they don't rust while they're in storage. Alright, time to put it all together. Well, that's a good sign. Must mean they got the right parts. Now, when you're putting this all together, lube your bolts. Douglas actually want to use anti-seize. Anti-seize is great. I love anti-seize, but usually in my brake jobs, I throw them on, throw the brake caliper grease. It's just as good. It works well. Anti-seize is definitely a better, but if you only want to buy one thing, I just use this. Lubing the bolts. Just quick, little two dab. Now the reason why you can put them on really half of it, as you spin the threads in, it brings the grease down and it puts it all over the bolt. Alright, now my bolts are pre-greased. Take caliper bracket. Now, threading these might be a little troublesome. Always hand thread them first because you don't want to strip the caliper bracket out because then you got to go get a new one. And that's no fun for anyone. Now, for putting these on, I don't typically use my impact, which is going to be shocking for Doug because I use it for everything. I usually take my ratcheting wrench, let it pull everything in. You can see there's still a lot of play. You'll see it get tight in a second. And you see, just got nice and tight. I do the bottom one, I do the top one. My trick is, I put it up there, I do a double tap with the hammer. It locks the bolt in and it doesn't over tighten it. I've done that for years on cars, never had a problem. Okay guys, I got my bracket on, got my rotor on, now do you see my pads? Okay, here's a thing I used to do at the shop. Now, you can do it on yours if you want. See this bar? It's a squeal bar. It's annoying because it actually activates a little too early in a lot of cases, so I just bend it off.
Squeal bars.
Squeal bar is actually for you guys who don't know what's going on with the car. It activates and starts scraping against the rotor so you know when to do your brakes. But now it's on and I can move it. You see I got play. And that's what you want when you're doing brakes. You want play in everything. See, that one went on real nice and easy just because the clip was finally placed. Okay, both pads are on. Flip down the caliper. Make sure your pins are pushed in when you put the caliper on, because it's going to make your life a little easier. And you're good to go. Now, lube your last 2 bolts. On these caliper bolts, I do not smack them with a hammer. I just get them ratchet tight. There you go. One side is done. I just got to put the wheel on. And you're good to go. Now, when you put the wheel on, Doug will bring it around me and show you, but you're going to be torquing the wheel down at the end of it to 100 foot-pounds. That's also so you have even seating, and make sure the wheel doesn't come off. Okay, guys, one thing I wanted to put on by hand is the lug nut. I've cross-threaded these before in the shop. I'll admit it, I wasn't paying attention, just zipped it on with the gun, and they are a pain in the butt to get off. They end up going on angle, you have to chisel them out, you have to get a nut breaker on them, usually you have to replace the lug. Or you can grind off the tip and be lucky and get it back on. But hand feed these at least 5 to 6 threads down. So get all 5 on. Now what I do is I take my gun. On my gun I have settings. I usually put it to 2. And just start seating the bolts. Okay, guys, like I said, you're going to want to torque your wrench. I have it set to 100, probably a little 105 actually right now. Foot-pounds of torque. Wait for the click. There you go, we're done. Okay guys, last thing you do, you got the wheel on, you're ready to go to the other side. Guess what you want to do? You want to spin it. Make sure there's no weird noises. Now you see, all you hear is just the contact of the brake pad and the rotor, but there's no high-pitched squeals, which could be a brake clip out of alignment or anything like that, or even maybe a stone there. This will save you time, because you go on the test drive, you hear the scraping, then you got to take it, wait for it to cool down, and then redo everything. If you're still sitting here at the car, easier to do it in 5 minutes than 20 minutes later.
All right, guys, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to do man versus machine. We're going to see how quickly Eric can do a full, correct brake job on this other side of his car. Ready, marks? Get set. Go. Nine minutes, 57 seconds.
But that is 10 minutes to one side. Honestly, I could probably cut off 2 minutes if it wasn't a Subaru.
Which means feasibly, you could get your brakes done, all 4 of them, well under an hour, assuming you are the hydraulic droggy over here. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you found the video amusing. Definitely, we hope you found it entertaining and educational. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment down there in the squawk box. Go ahead, I know you're going to leave a comment about using a torque wrench. I know you are. Let's get it.
Like it.
Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.